This is the Dr. Tiff Show, and I am going to take your questions from the fourth wall. So we have a topic today about divorce in the 40s and 50s, and like almost like going through your first divorce, like everybody in their 40s, if they got married in their 20s and even 30s, you might be getting closer to this stage where we're at now, which is, dealing with divorce, dealing with children, dealing with, blended families, remarrying, all of that stuff. So I'm taking a few questions from you guys. You wrote in, and I'm going to have somebody read me the first question.
How you doing this evening, Dr. Tiff?
Pretty good.
A question from the audience is, how do you avoid an ugly divorce?
How to avoid an ugly divorce. Don't marry an ugly person. I mean, you know what? I will tell you, I've been going through a divorce, and I think that people choose to make it ugly. It's a choice, right? And both sides, these are people that came together, that once said that they're in love, that couldn't stand being apart from each other, and then all of a sudden it turns ugly, and one person decides to file for divorce. And it's usually, according to statistics, the women, but it's not the women initiating the reason for the divorce a lot of times. And of course, I don't just side with women because I'm a woman. I say that both parties contribute in a way to the demise of a relationship. But how not to have an ugly divorce takes two mature people, not one, but two, right? And everyone involved has to be willing to sit at the table and kind of come up with their wants, their needs, and somewhere in the middle. You meet somewhere in the middle, because everyone is not going to get what they want out of this. And instead of being emotional, paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to lawyers that don't give a shit about you, you sit down with each other and you map out, these are the bills, these are the things. And 9 times out of 10, it's finances and children. Really, that's what it is. Those are the two topics of why people are on different sides. So if you can work those two things out, I feel like it could be a really good situation. Like, you could separate and understand, like, some things don't, and I shouldn't say nothing lasts forever, but I mean, yeah, our lives don't last forever, so nothing lasts forever. At some point, you have to recognize what the issues are, accept it. I don't give a shit if there's cheating. I don't care if there's somebody else, another child, the person's a liar. It doesn't matter, because all of those things are minuscule in comparison to what you need to work out. You do it like a business deal. You're separating business, you're parting ways. What are the things that I need? What are the things that I want? Don't make it personal. Don't shoot below the belt. Don't, use the kids to get back at the other person. That's the only way to have a healthy, clear, and clean divorce. And guess what? Most people don't have it. I thought my divorce was going to be simple. And when I got somebody else, started in, right? Started in with the bullshit. Started in with the attacks and the this and, attacking my character, me as a mother. And that's when things get ugly. But see, I am one person. I can't control the other person. So that's another thing is, you can't control the other person. Let them say what they will. You do what you're going to do. Deal with business. Don't deal with personal, and don't deal with emotional. Do not interact with the person when you're emotional. Just what it is. And deal with it like it's a business deal. That's it. That's my answer. Next question.
Amazing insight. How do you deal with the other parent you cannot stand for the sake of the children?
So, dealing with the other parent, it also depends on how old your children are. If your children are over the age of 10, get them a phone and be done with the other parent. To be honest, if you can't get along with the other parent, just get them a goddamn phone and deal with your child directly. But if you have like toddlers or young children and you are forced to deal with the other parent, keep it about the child. I'm telling you, I'm keeping a buck. If you talk about anything else other than the child, it gives a window of opportunity for the other person to insult you, especially if they're angry. There's always one person not happy that they're going through a divorce, right? Or there's one person not happy with the results of what the judge said or whatever, right? So there's always going to be one out of the two that try to make an issue. Keep it about the children. Keep it and outline the times that you're going to have the children, that they're going to have the children, how this is going to transpire. I mean, I'll be honest. When I didn't want to deal with my ex. What did I do? I had my sister bring my son down. I had my, fiance bring my son down. I had, my brother or whoever. Like, I just didn't want to interact because I didn't want it to be negative. So sometimes you can have people in place of yourself. So it's just strictly about the children, and make sure that the time spent with both parents is fair, and that you give a forewarning if you're going to take them on any time that they're supposed to have them. You know this. Like, unfortunately, a lot of times these relationships end and children end up holding the bag. You have to keep the children out of the business, and the adults have to do what they have to do. That's that. Next.
Well, I love the advice so far. So keep it from being ugly. Try to mediate. Try to work things out. Keep it about the children. Love that. So I have that all behind me, and I want to start dating. How do I go about that?
So dating is very tricky. It sucks. I'll just start there. But I would say to try to make sure that you're completely whole before moving on to dating. Making sure, and this is the difference between women and men. I'll tell you a little secret there, right? Women tend to become whole while they're still in the relationship because they've given chance after chance after chance after chance for you to change, and you've chosen not to. You've chosen to continue on and do what you're going to do, and that's that, right? So they start to build themselves up. They start to go to counseling. They start to get all this out so that by the time they're done with you, they're whole. So they can go out the next day and start dating and it be fine, right? Whereas men, they will already have someone, or, in a very unhealthy manner that you overlap relationships. So I would say first, make sure that you're clear of any emotional baggage, any financial baggage. And then next, don't take your garbage into the dating pool because there's enough. Just come there with an open mind and ready to meet someone also healthy. And you'll find out very, very early on if this person has problems or something that you can't tolerate or deal with either. So I would say after divorce, it's harder the older you get to date, but there are people out there just like you looking for someone just like you. So I think that you have to keep an open mind. Obviously, now in this day and age, it's online dating. Most people are not talking to anybody in the streets. And if I was a man, I don't blame them because you say the wrong thing. And next thing you know, you being sued for $50 million. So I would say online dating is where it's at. Just try to figure out which app you want to use because some of them are just transactional. Some of them you have some crazies. So I would say pay a little money and invest in your dating.
Dr. Tiff, this sounds all too complicated. You've come through a difficult divorce. You're dealing with children and parents and the difficulties of that. You just started dating and you said that's crazy. Should you ever get married again?
Do you get married again after divorce? It all depends on your idea of marriage. Your first marriage could be a starter marriage. It could be a learning curve of what not to do, right? And then you want to go into something like the real marriage, what they say is the second marriage, is the real marriage, and you want to go in and give what you knew that you should have given in that first marriage, or be accepting of what you weren't accepting of in that first marriage. I think it's really about your religion, your beliefs, the other person. Do they want to get married? Like for me, marriage, I always say this, and it's cliche for me, maybe not for you, but I always say this, that I've been in relationships that were way more meaningful than my marriage. So it is what you put into the relationship that creates the marriage. That's where I'm at with it. So if you want to get married, then that's fine. But if you want a life partner, that's fine too. If you want to tell everybody you're married and you're not married, that's fine too. If you want to have a wedding and don't really have the paperwork, that's fine too. But I think when you get burned or when you experience such a horrible first marriage, it's like it's a little bit afraid to go in head on and with both feet, right? So I would say if somebody truly loves you and respects you and really wants to be with you forever, the piece of paper is not going to stop that. So if you want to get married, get married. You don't. But you can have a healthy, prosperous relationship after divorce, after divorce, you can have that. You can have that. You just have to allow yourself to have that because there's other people, like I said, in your same situation.
Wonderful advice again. This next question goes back to your first response about avoiding an ugly divorce. Should I forego the child support and the spousal support to just get this divorce over?
Listen. It is a loaded question when you ask about child support and alimony, and I don't give a shit what you think of my answer. I'm going to tell you this, women. Child support is not an option to get rid of. It's just not. I've seen some things where women want to take care of everything themselves. They don't want the man to be involved. They don't want his opinion, so they're not going to take his money. That's not an option because that's not your money. Okay, so yes, granted, you're using your money to provide for the children, but there are two people that had that child who should both be contributing to the child. And trust me, if you have primary custody or physical custody, you're paying way more than any child support court is going to give you, guaranteed. So child support is not about you and your personal feelings. And even if you had a bank account that you're never going to touch because you're that wealthy, right? And you're just going to have that check deposited each month for your child. And when they turn 21 or 26 or whenever they finish college, they get that full bank account. Even if it's just for that reason, you always take child support. And I'm not just talking to women because guess what? The woman might be making more than the man, or the man has primary custody or physical custody and he's getting child support. It works both ways because it's not about you as the adult. It's about the child. So that's all I'm gonna say about child support. That's not an option. You're automatically taking child support. There is no option on that, period. Alimony, however, it could be up in the air. It could be a negotiating tool if you don't need it. If you feel like you can afford to maintain your lifestyle or that you're going to have a less angry person to deal with. It also depends on how long you were married. If you were a housewife married for 20 years, yeah, you need alimony. But if you're working and you've always been working and the difference in salary is not that big of a deal, or it's not going to be a life changer in you, you're not going to suffer from not taking that alimony, I would then give you some financial advice because relatively recently in the last 3 or 4 years, they've made alimony taxable to the receiver. So whether you're the woman or man, if you're receiving alimony, right, you now have to declare that on your taxes and you have to pay taxes. The receiver, this is in the last 3 or 4 years. So for me, if I want to keep my income low and I don't want to pay taxes on all of that extra money, I would rather forego the alimony for the sake of being able to co-parent and like I said, if you're in the ballpark of what you're going to get and you can stand to forego the alimony. If you can't, then yeah, you have to do what you have to do. But if you can stand and forego the alimony, and what you do is you just get more money in the child support. You just demand over the 17% regarding the child support and get the money that way so you can still provide and manage and take care of your children to the extent. Because permanent alimony is almost a thing of the past unless you've been married for 20 years and you weren't working. So you're only going to get rehabilitative alimony or a 10-year alimony anyway. So really, I would say do the most with child support, and sometimes you may have to forego the alimony. That's my answer there.
This is a fourth wall observation.
Yes.
Do you think marriage contracts are the most broken contracts of all contracts?
Do I think marriage contracts are the most broken? I think child contracts are the most broken. The children, they're born and they're so cute in the first 10 months, right? And then they're fucking hell on wheels for the next 20 goddamn years. But no, seriously, I do. I think that besides from opening a business with your friend, I think, because friendship businesses don't do well either. But I think that people in this country, and I'm speaking specifically about America, girls are told from the time they're 2, Don't you want to look like a princess, and the man in the horse and carriage going to come and get you, and you're going to be swept away, and all your bills are going to be paid, and you're going to be relaxing and beautiful, and the man's going to be faithful. I think we get misinformation about marriage and what it is. We don't understand that it's a partnership, even if your man is doing, those quote unquote manly things like providing and serving and being there as an additional parent. And even if you're getting all of those things, it's still a partnership. Your voice matters. Both voices matter. You're not one, but in action you are. So you might be two different people with two different likes, lifestyles, what have you. But when you come together, that's the power couple. That is the couple that is like on the same trajectory. So it's almost like two parallel lines, right? And people don't think that you're going to just not have bumps in the road, like everything's going to be great. Like, this is what we're told, and nobody's prepared for it. Nobody's prepared for the work. Nobody's prepared to get angry and move on but stay in the relationship. Nobody's prepared to fix what's broken. Nobody wants to do the effort and the work of what it takes to truly be in a partnership. So it's like, I get married because I want to have a big wedding. Oh, I get married because I want somebody to take care of me. I get married because I want to wear the white dress. I get married because I want to have children. There's a million reasons why people get married, and most of them are the wrong reason. That's it. That's why marriages don't work. Most people are not aligned with their partner, and when the going gets tough, they get out of the kitchen.
This last question from a viewer is, and may have been the first question, do I demand a prenup if I get married? Again, assuming maybe in the first marriage there wasn't a prenup. So if you were to remarry, would you get a prenup? And did you have a prenup?
So, if a man asks me to sign a prenup, I'm not getting married. And that may be a little selfish because, yes, in my first marriage, I did demand that my soon-to-be ex-husband sign a prenup. But it wasn't my idea. And thank God it was an idea. It was my grandmother's idea because she said, guess what? I'm cutting you out of every motherfucking thing if you don't get a prenup. You're off the brownstone. You're not getting this. You're not getting that. And so I did get a prenup. And thank the Lord in heaven that I got a prenup, because who knows that evil man, what he would be after, right? But I would not have normally thought of a prenup. And what people don't realize is it's not just for the wealthy. It is, for me, it would be at this point, at this stage, would be to protect my children. But it also depends on what type of man that you're marrying. If you're marrying a man that's like, you have everything I have, everything is yours, what is the use of a prenup? Like, what would be the point if he's not protecting any of his assets? What is the point in necessarily protecting yours? And that's why I said it's a lot to think about when you get a legal piece of paper that says that you're married, right? Because you can do and put into place certain things that makes that partner as powerful as a marriage without getting married, right? But prenup, I feel like, is a conversation, and it has to, I don't even know how you bring it up. I really don't know how I even got my ex-husband to sign it. I don't know. But I personally, if I was asked at this point in my life to sign a prenup, I would not sign a prenup, and I would not get married. Now, this would not end the relationship. I just would, he'd have to accept that I'm not getting married. And the reason why, I don't have a good reason why. I just feel like, okay, you don't trust me, so great. We'll just stay in this relationship, and that's fine until it's not. So, and then again, like I said, I'm admitting that that's selfish, because now would I have somebody else sign a prenup at this point? I feel like I wouldn't get married if I felt like I needed to ask someone to sign a prenup. So I would just stay in the relationship and enjoy the relationship. But that's because I have small children. And really, again, women with children, and we're doing it by ourselves, or we've done it for years by ourselves, we're very protective, if you have a few dollars, of that, that ensures that our children are going to be able to thrive and be able to take care of themselves. So that's my reason. It's really not about the man or anything else. It's about my children and making sure their livelihood is why I've worked so hard and why I put all these things in place. And then it's if you are in a situation in a family where you're going to inherit some stuff, you want it to be and be able to stay in the family with your children. So that's one of the things that it might be important to sign a prenup if you have inheritances that are coming down the pike or trust. And then yet again, you could probably put it all in a trust and then get married. You wouldn't necessarily have to sign a prenup. So there's that.
That was the last question. Any parting words?
Well, thank you guys. And my parting words are, marriage is a business. It really, really is. And who you go into business with can change your entire life. So think carefully, think wisely. Don't just think about love. You got to think of it as a business. Is this the person that you would put all your money on a table and give to them and close your eyes and let them do what they want with it? Is this the person that you trust with your health? You trust is not going to give you no disease. You trust is not going to be sleeping with the world. You trust with your children. You trust that they're not going to, beat them to an inch of their life. Do you trust this person like you trust yourself? That's the only way to get married. Thank you, Dr. Tiff. Bye.